Pats Nation, lock in for this one because there are some very real signals coming out of Foxborough right now. While a lot of people are only staring at the flashy names, the Patriots are quietly moving in areas that say a lot about the real plan for this roster. Depth in the secondary, versatility on defense, explosive upside in the front seven, and maybe even a low-risk opportunity on offense. And when all of those pieces start showing up at the same time, that stops feeling like coincidence. That starts looking like a blueprint. If you live and breathe Patriots football every single day and you want to track this build step by step, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because today the temperature in Foxborough is rising fast. Let's start with a move that might not look huge to casual fans, but to anybody who really follows this team, it says a lot. The Patriots' interest in Justin Harrington. Here's what we know. The West Virginia safety confirmed that New England is one of the teams that has shown interest in him during the pre-draft process. Now, that does not mean he's definitely getting drafted by the Patriots. It does not mean he's guaranteed a roster spot. And it definitely does not mean this thing is already done. But it does mean New England is paying close attention to a position that might not be at the top of every fan's wish list, yet is very clearly on the team's radar. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. When you look at this safety room right now, the headline name is Kevin Byard. That was a strong move. Veteran presence, real credibility, real football value. Craig Woodson is another important piece. But after that, the picture gets a whole lot thinner. The depth just doesn't scream stability for a long, physical season where injuries, rotation, and matchup flexibility can change everything in a heartbeat. And that is exactly where a player like Harrington starts to fit into the conversation. Because his profile is not about eye-popping production or gaudy college numbers. He's not the kind of name that wins the headline battle by himself. He's the kind of prospect coaches love to shape. Big frame, physical presence, aggressive style, former high school wide receiver, good movement skills in coverage, size and length that stand out for the position. And when he says he takes pride in man coverage and believes he can line up outside or in the slot, that matters. Not because he's already proven at the NFL level, but because that mindset fits a system that values flexibility, role awareness, and discipline. There's another layer here too, and it matters. Harrington has already worked with people who know the Patriots world. He played under Jed Fish and Steve Belichick at Washington. That doesn't automatically make him a Patriots pick, of course, but it helps explain why New England could see him as moldable, coachable, and ready to handle different packages, special teams work, and developmental reps. And when he talks about knowing his role, doing his job, and making the most out of limited opportunities, you can almost hear the old Patriots DNA echoing through that quote. That's where the real read comes in. Maybe the Patriots are not just hunting stars right now. Maybe they're hunting competition, structure, and players who can strengthen the foundation of the roster before the summer even gets rolling. So tell me this, Pats Nation. Does this kind of move fire you up because it feels smart and intentional? Or do you think New England is still being way too cautious in the secondary? Now here's where the story gets even more interesting because this next situation taps straight into the anxiety and excitement of the Patriots fan base. Everybody is watching the A.J. Brown trade possibility, and for good reason. A player of that caliber would shake the entire ceiling of the offense the second he walked into the building. That kind of move changes the energy of a franchise. But while the Patriots wait to see whether something actually materializes with Philadelphia, they cannot afford to sit in a rocking chair and hope for lightning to strike. And that is exactly why the Curtis Samuel angle deserves real attention. The facts are simple. Samuel is available after being let go by the Bills, and there is a very reasonable argument that New England should at least take a look at him for training camp. We are not talking about crowning him the answer at wide receiver. We are not pretending he's some WR1 savior who suddenly fixes everything overnight. That's not the conversation. The conversation is depth, competition, low-cost upside, and a veteran who has already shown in this league that he can contribute when healthy and used the right way. Last season's numbers are not going to wow anybody. That part is real. Limited games, limited production, limited impact. But roster building is not just about staring at a stat sheet like it's the final verdict. Samuel has experience, versatility, and the kind of skill set that can still have value in a receiver room that needs more functional options. Sometimes the smart move is not the loud move. Sometimes it's the move that gives you another card to play when the pressure starts climbing. And when the projected cost sits around $1.8 million per year, the financial risk is minimal. For a team trying to build with discipline instead of panic, that matters. If it works, you add a useful piece. If it doesn't, the damage is controlled. That is not reckless spending. That is smart roster management. Now here's where the suspense kicks in. What if that is exactly how the Patriots are thinking? What if they're still monitoring the A.J. Brown situation, still hoping the door opens, but at the same time making sure they are not walking into the summer with one plan and one plan only? Because serious teams do not build around fantasy. Serious teams stack options. They build plan A, plan B, plan C, and let competition do the talking. If you're all in on the idea of chasing A.J. Brown but also think New England needs to stop waiting around and attack lower-cost opportunities like Curtis Samuel, smash that like button and drop depth first in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of debate that splits a fan base right down the middle. And while all of that is happening, there's another kind of move that could reveal a lot about what Mike Vrabel wants this defense to become. Not just tougher, but more dangerous, more creative, and harder to solve. That is why Harold Perkins Jr. is such a fascinating name in this whole conversation. The facts jump off the page. The LSU linebacker enters the draft with production that grabs your attention by the face mask. Tackles for loss, sacks, forced fumbles, a constant sense that he's hovering around game-changing plays like a storm cloud waiting to burst. He is not the traditional linebacker prototype. He's lighter. He's not built like the classic thumper in the middle. And honestly, that might be exactly why his value to New England gets so interesting. Because with the Patriots, especially with Vrabel in the picture, you cannot look at a player in a shallow way. The real question is not, is he a textbook linebacker? The real question is, how can this guy become a weapon? And in that department, Harold Perkins is electric. He has burst, closing speed, blitz timing, change of direction, and the kind of attacking instinct that can blow up a pocket before the offense even knows what hit it. In passing situations, in specialized packages, in looks designed to create chaos, he could become much more than just a rotational piece. And that matters because the linebacker room still does not feel fully settled. Robert Spillane brings experience. Christian Ellis is in the mix. Marte Mapu offers athletic flexibility. KJ Britt adds some physical presence. But what this group still lacks is that one true disruptor, that player who can step on the field and force the offense to change the math. Harold Perkins has that kind of trait. Sure, there is risk here. His size will bring questions. His fit will depend on smart usage. Nobody is saying he walks in and solves every problem from day one. But this is the type of swing that can raise the ceiling of a defense without costing premium draft capital. And if he really is sitting there later in the draft, that becomes the kind of value an alert front office should not ignore. To me, if New England sees Harold Perkins as a weapon, that is not desperation. That is vision. That is a coaching staff seeing gasoline and realizing it might just be holding a match. But if the mission in Foxborough is to build a defense that hits harder, disguises more, and punches back in big moments, then there is one more truth staring this team in the face. None of it reaches full power unless the pass rush can hunt quarterbacks on its own. And that is exactly why the name T.J. Parker is starting to heat up. There is already a projection linking New England to the Clemson edge rusher with the 31st pick, and that connection is not coming out of thin air. The Patriots still need more juice, more force, and more consistency off the edge. Last season, the defense just did not create enough pressure with a standard four-man rush, and that changes everything. When the front cannot win cleanly, the secondary has to hold longer, the blitz packages become more desperate, and the entire defense starts walking a tightrope over a pit of fire. That is where Parker becomes such an intriguing answer. This is a powerful defender with real production, real backfield disruption, and a real track record of showing up. He is not just a testing darling or a projection built on workout hype. There are tackles for loss on the resume. There are forced fumbles. There is impact. There is evidence. There is that relentless edge rusher energy that keeps showing up snap after snap like a hammer pounding on a locked door. And once you zoom out and look at the current roster, the logic gets even stronger. K'Lavon Chaisson is gone. Harold Landry is still useful, still a real piece, but he's at that stage where you have to start thinking ahead about wear, tear, and what comes next. Draymond Jones helps, especially because of his versatility, but he does not solve the entire problem by himself. New England still needs another threat off the edge. So if the Patriots really do make a move for someone like T.J. Parker, the message would be crystal clear. This is not just about filling out a depth chart. This is about hardening the identity of the defense. This is about building a unit that can handle physical football, collapse the pocket, and flip major moments when the lights get hottest. And for a fan base desperate to see Foxborough become a place opponents fear again, that would be a massive signal. At the end of the day, that is what makes this whole stretch so fascinating. Maybe there hasn't been that one giant move yet that blows the roof off the news cycle all by itself, but there are already multiple signals pointing in the same direction. More depth in the secondary, more options on offense, more creativity at linebacker, more power on the edge. And when all those pieces start lining up together, the feeling gets hard to ignore. Foxborough is trying to build a team that is tougher, smarter, deeper, and a whole lot more dangerous than people want to admit. Now I want to hear from you. Are you buying into this layer-by-layer rebuild, or do you still think the Patriots need one massive blockbuster move before this roster can really change levels? Drop your take in the comments, hit the like button if you're feeling this energy, and subscribe to the channel because the temperature in Foxborough is only getting hotter from here. Let's go, Pats!